My daughter claimed my guest house as her own, then tried to rent it online and called me abusive when I changed the locks. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. I'm 55, recently divorced, and worked my ass off to buy a property with a guest house that I use as my real estate office. My daughter Melissa, 28, has been staying with me since her breakup 3 months ago. What was supposed to be temporary is becoming complicated. Last Sunday, we're having our monthly family barbecue. My siblings Patricia and David are there with their families. Everyone's having a good time. I'm grilling burgers when Melissa stands up and makes an announcement like she's proposing a toast. I've decided I'm going to move into Mom's guest house permanently. She barely uses it anyway, and I really need my own space to get back on my feet. The silence was deafening. Then Patricia immediately jumps in with, "Oh honey, that's perfect. Rebecca, that's such a great solution. Family should help family." Wait, what? I'm standing there with a spatula in my hand, watching my family discuss my property like I'm not even there. David chimes in next. "Rebecca, you're being kind of selfish keeping an entire building to yourself when Melissa is struggling." "I use that space for my business," I said. "I meet clients there. I stage properties there. It's not just sitting empty." But the damage was done. My nieces and nephews are already talking about how cool it'll be for Melissa to have her own place. Patricia's husband starts discussing how they could help her move. Everyone's treating this like it's already decided. Melissa gives me this look, part pleading, part entitled. "Mom, I'm finally ready to be independent. Isn't that what you want?" The thing is, I've been supporting her completely for 3 months. Groceries, utilities, gas money, even helping with her car payment. The guest house isn't just some spare room, it's a 600-square-foot converted space with a full kitchen, bathroom, and separate entrance. It's where I built my business after the divorce. "We need to discuss this privately," I told her. Patricia rolled her eyes. "What's to discuss? Your daughter needs help and you have the space." By the end of the barbecue, I felt like the worst mother in the world. Everyone left treating me like I was being unreasonable for not immediately handing over my office space to my adult daughter who hasn't paid rent anywhere in months. That night, I sat Melissa down and explained that the guest house is my workspace, not available for her to move into. I offered to help her find an affordable apartment and even contribute to her deposit. Her response, "I can't believe you're choosing money over your own daughter. Am I crazy here? I love Melissa, but I worked incredibly hard to rebuild my life after my divorce. That guest house represents my independence and my business, but my entire family is acting like I'm being selfish and cruel. The worst part? Melissa hasn't spoken to me since Sunday. She's been staying in the main house but giving me the silent treatment, and Patricia has called me twice to tell me I'm crushing Melissa's spirit, and that I should reconsider my priorities. I don't know what to do. Am I being unreasonable for not wanting to give up my office space? Or is my family right that I should prioritize helping my daughter? It's been 2 weeks since my original post, and things have escalated in ways I never expected. Thank you to everyone who told me to stand firm. I needed to hear that I wasn't being unreasonable. So I had that conversation with Melissa. I explained calmly that the guest house is my office, not available for her to live in, and that I'd help her find her own place. She seemed to accept it, apologized for putting me on the spot at the barbecue, and we had what I thought was a productive talk about her moving out timeline. I should have known it was too easy. Last Tuesday, I came home from showing a property to find Melissa in the guest house with her laptop set up at my desk, video chatting with someone. When I asked what she was doing, she said she was just using the space since I wasn't there, and that she was helping by keeping it lived in. Red flag number 1. Thursday, I had clients coming to see staging examples. I opened the guest house to find makeup scattered across my bathroom counter, wet towels on the floor, and what was clearly evidence that someone had spent the night there. The bed I use for staging was unmade, and there was a man's watch on the nightstand. When I confronted Melissa, she got defensive. "I had a date and it was going well, so I brought him somewhere private. I didn't think you'd mind since you weren't using it. You brought a stranger into my office space without permission?" "He's not a stranger, Mom. God, you're being so dramatic." Red flag number 2, but it gets worse. This weekend, I discovered Melissa has been using the guest house for Instagram photo shoots. She's been posting pictures of herself in her new space, making it look like she lives there. The captions are all about her new independent life and finally having her own place. She's tagged the location and everything. When I scrolled through her posts, I found something that made my blood run cold. She's been using the space to photograph jewelry she's been making and selling online. There's a whole setup with professional lighting and a backdrop that definitely wasn't there before. I confronted her again. "Melissa, you're running a business out of my office without permission." Her response floored me. "I'm trying to rebuild my life and show some entrepreneurial spirit. I thought you'd be proud of me for taking initiative." Before I could respond, my phone rang. "Patricia. Rebecca, I am so proud of Melissa right now. She showed me her little jewelry business and she's doing so well. You should be supporting her, not tearing her down. She's doing this in my office space without permission." "Oh, come on, you're barely using it anyway. At least she's being productive." This is when I realized what was happening. Melissa has been framing this to the family as me being unsupportive of her business venture rather than her violating boundaries about my property. Patricia continued, "You know, when I was struggling after my divorce, family helped me. I didn't have a sister who owned extra buildings but wouldn't let me use them." The guilt trip was in full swing. Patricia has been calling me daily since then, each conversation more manipulative than the last. Yesterday she told me that Melissa is finally showing some ambition, and I'm crushing her dreams because I'm bitter about my own divorce. I've changed the locks on the guest house, but I feel like I'm losing my mind. My daughter is treating my office like her personal apartment, my sister is calling me selfish daily, and I'm starting to doubt whether I'm being reasonable. The worst part? Melissa hasn't contributed a single dollar to utilities, groceries, or anything else, but she's making money selling jewelry out of my space and acting like I should be grateful she's using it productively. I found her business Instagram account. She has 500 followers and is advertising custom jewelry with photos taken in my guest house. She's literally profiting off my property while telling everyone I'm the bad guy for not supporting her entrepreneurship. I don't know how this became about me being unsupportive instead of about basic respect for boundaries. But I'm done being manipulated. I'm shaking as I write this. I just got back from a 3-day real estate conference, and I need to document everything that happened while I was gone because I can barely believe it myself. Before I left, I explicitly told Melissa that the guest house was off limits while I was away. I had the locks changed, and I thought that would be enough. I was wrong. I returned home this afternoon to find a moving truck in my driveway. A fucking moving truck. I ran to the guest house and found the door wide open. All of Melissa's belongings were being moved in by 2 guys who looked confused when I started yelling at them to stop. That's when Melissa appeared, directing them where to put her dresser. "What the hell is happening?" I demanded. "I'm moving in," she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I found roommates to help with expenses, and Aunt Patricia helped me coordinate everything while you were gone." "You found roommates? For MY Guest House?" That's when I noticed the other people. A young couple, maybe early 20s, standing awkwardly by a pile of boxes. Melissa had been showing them around MY property, planning to sublet MY Guest House to help pay for her lifestyle. "Mom, meet Jake and Emma. They're going to rent the back room and help with utilities. It's a win-win." I lost it. "Everyone out, now, this is my property and none of you have permission to be here." The moving guys stopped working, clearly realizing they'd walked into a family drama. Jake and Emma grabbed their stuff and practically ran to their car, but Melissa stood her ground. "I'm not leaving. I live here now. You changed the locks on MY property. Aunt Patricia helped me find a locksmith. She said you were being unreasonable and that sometimes family has to do what's best for each other." I called Patricia immediately. She answered on the first ring, clearly expecting this call. "Rebecca, before you start yelling, you helped my daughter break into my property?" "I helped my niece move into space that was sitting empty while she was struggling." You've been so stubborn about this, and Melissa was crying every day about how unsupported she felt. "She broke into my office? She moved into a guest house that you never use. There's a difference." I hung up and called the police. The officer who responded was professional but clearly uncomfortable with the family drama. Since Melissa had been staying in my main house, he said it was a civil matter and I'd need to go through formal eviction proceedings. Eviction proceedings against my own daughter. While the officer was there, I discovered something else. Melissa had been telling people she owned the property. She'd posted on Facebook about finally having her own place and had been advertising it as her apartment to potential subletters. She'd even transferred the utilities into her name somehow. "How did you get the utilities transferred?" I asked her. She looked away. "I just called and said I was taking over the account." "You forged my signature, didn't you?" "I didn't forge anything. I just handled the paperwork." The officer suggested I contact a lawyer immediately, especially if there were fraudulent documents involved. As he was leaving, more family members started showing up. David and his wife, Patricia's kids, even some cousins I hadn't seen in months. Turns out, Melissa had been telling everyone that I was evicting her and trying to make her homeless. She'd spun this whole narrative about how I was having a mental breakdown after my divorce and was taking it out on her. Patricia's daughter actually said to me, "Aunt Rebecca, we're all worried about you. Maybe you should talk to someone about why you're being so cruel to Melissa." The gaslighting was unreal. I'm standing in my own driveway, looking at my daughter who has illegally moved into my office space, and I'm being told I'm the one with the problem. David pulled me aside. "Rebecca, I know you're upset, but maybe there's a compromise here. Melissa seems really committed to making this work. She broke into my property, David. She was planning to sublet it without my permission. But she's family. Surely we can work something out." I realized in that moment that my entire family had been manipulated by Melissa's version of events. They genuinely believed I was being unreasonable and that she was just trying to get her life together. I went inside and called a lawyer. Tomorrow I'm filing for formal eviction and looking into the utility fraud. I'm also getting security cameras installed because I have a feeling this is far from over. Tonight, Melissa is sleeping in my guest house, and there's nothing I can do about it until the legal process plays out. My sister thinks I'm having a breakdown, my daughter thinks she owns my property, and I'm about to have to evict my own child. I never thought my family would choose manipulation over basic respect for boundaries, but here we are. The last month has been a legal nightmare, but I finally have some resolution to share. For those following along, my daughter illegally moved into my guest house, and my family supported her manipulation tactics. I had to begin formal eviction proceedings against my own child. The eviction process revealed things I never expected. When I got copies of the utility transfer documents, Melissa had indeed forged my signature. My lawyer says it's a clear case of identity theft, and we've filed a police report. But it gets worse. During the legal discovery process, we found that Melissa had been advertising my guest house as her own apartment on multiple roommate finding websites. She'd been collecting deposits from potential subletters and had actually received $800 from 3 different people who thought they were renting from her. She was literally running a rental scam out of my property. The security cameras I installed caught everything. Last week, they recorded Melissa and Patricia attempting to break into the guest house after I had the locks changed again. Patricia was holding a crowbar while Melissa tried to jimmy the window. When they couldn't get in, Patricia started yelling at the camera about how I was destroying my own family. The footage was so clear that when I showed it to David, he immediately called Patricia and told her she was out of line. That's when the family finally started to fracture along the lines I should have expected. David and his wife apologized for initially pressuring me. "We didn't realize how manipulative Melissa was being," his wife said. "We thought you were just being stubborn about helping family." But Patricia doubled down. When I sent her the security footage, she said I was setting traps for my own daughter and that the cameras proved I was paranoid and vindictive. The restraining order hearing was surreal. Melissa showed up with Patricia and a folder of printed Instagram posts that she claimed proved she'd been building a business in the guest house and that I was sabotaging her success. The judge was not impressed. When he saw the evidence of forged signatures, the rental scam, and the security footage of attempted break-ins, he granted the restraining order immediately. Melissa and Patricia are now legally prohibited from coming within 100 feet of my property, but the damage to my professional reputation was already done. 3 of my real estate clients asked me about the family drama after seeing Patricia's Facebook posts about how I was evicting my own daughter. One client actually canceled a listing because she said she was uncomfortable with the family instability. The court case became public record, and somehow Patricia thought it would be a good idea to share details on social media to rally support for Melissa. Instead, it backfired spectacularly when people started asking questions about why a 28-year-old was illegally squatting in her mother's office space. The financial resolution was straightforward. Melissa had to pay back the $800 she'd collected from fake subletters, plus my legal fees, plus damages for the fraudulent utility transfers. She also had to issue public corrections on all social media platforms where she'd claimed to own or rent the property. The family resolution was more complicated. David and his family are back in my life and have been incredibly supportive. They've apologized repeatedly and have helped me understand how Melissa's manipulation worked on all of us initially. But Patricia has chosen her side. She and Melissa have moved in together, and they continue to portray me as an abusive mother on social media. Patricia's kids have been told I'm unstable and won't speak to me anymore. The most painful part is that Melissa genuinely seems to believe she was the victim in all of this. Even during the court proceedings, she kept talking about how I was crushing her dreams and choosing money over family. I've had to accept that my daughter is an adult who made choices that have consequences, and that some family members will enable her rather than hold her accountable. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how everything has resolved. For those just joining, my daughter illegally moved into my guest house. My family initially supported her manipulation, and I had to evict my own child through the court system. The no-contact decision has been the hardest but most necessary choice I've made. Melissa and Patricia continue to live together and maintain their social media narrative that I'm an abusive mother who chose money over family. Patricia's latest Facebook post called me a cautionary tale about what divorce does to women's mental health. I stopped reading their posts months ago. The family division has actually simplified my life in unexpected ways. David and his family have become closer to me than ever. They've apologized repeatedly for initially pressuring me and have helped me understand how Melissa's manipulation worked on all of us. David's wife told me something that stuck with me. We wanted to believe Melissa because the alternative meant accepting that she was capable of this level of deception. It was easier to think you were being unreasonable than to face what she was actually doing. My business has not only recovered but thrived. The clients who stayed with me through the drama have become my strongest advocates. Word spread in the real estate community that I'm someone who stands up for herself, and apparently that's exactly what many people want in their agent. I've also converted the guest house into a more secure office space. The security system upgrade led me to meet Tom, the contractor who installed everything. He's 52, divorced, and has his own story about family boundary violations. We've been dating for 4 months, and he's the first person I've met who immediately understood why I couldn't just give in to keep the peace. Tom's response when I told him the whole story: "Good for you. Family doesn't get to steal from you just because they're family." It's refreshing to be with someone who respects boundaries instead of seeing them as obstacles to overcome. I've been in therapy throughout this process, and my therapist helped me understand that what happened wasn't really about the guest house. It was about a pattern of manipulation that had been building for years. Melissa learned that emotional manipulation worked on me, and when I finally said no to something important, she escalated to illegal behavior rather than accept the boundary. The therapy has also helped me recognize similar patterns in other relationships. I've ended friendships with people who consistently ignored my boundaries, and I've gotten better at identifying manipulation tactics before they escalate. For anyone dealing with family boundary violations, here's what I learned. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, even when people tell you it is. Especially when people tell you it is. Family members who truly love you will respect your boundaries, even if they don't understand them initially. Family members who manipulate you will escalate when you hold firm. Document everything. I cannot stress this enough. The security cameras and written records saved me legally and helped me maintain my sanity when everyone was telling me I was wrong. Don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, even if that someone is your child. Adult children need to face consequences for their actions, and enabling them helps no one. Professional help is invaluable. My lawyer protected my legal interests, and my therapist helped me understand the psychological dynamics at play. The guest house is now my favorite space in the house. It's secure, it's productive, and it represents everything I built for myself after my divorce. I meet clients there, I work on staging there, and sometimes Tom and I have coffee there in the mornings. It's a space that represents my independence and my willingness to defend what I've worked for. I'm proud of that. Melissa texted me last week asking if we could talk things through because she misses me. The text came right after Patricia posted about struggling with their rent. I didn't respond. I miss the daughter I thought I had, but I don't miss the manipulation, the drama, or the constant guilt trips. I've built a life surrounded by people who respect my boundaries and support my decisions. For the first time in years, I feel genuinely at peace with my choices. That's worth more than any family harmony built on enabling bad behavior. Thank you to everyone who followed this story and offered support. Your validation helped me stay strong when my own family was telling me I was wrong. For those dealing with similar situations, trust your instincts. You're not crazy, and you're not cruel for defending your boundaries. The guest house is still my office, I'm still in business, and I'm still standing up for myself. That's how this story ends.